Why men cannot lie to women. Our body language research reveals that in face-to-face communication, nonverbal signals account for 60 until 80% of the impact of the message, while vocal sounds make up 20 to 30% and the other 7 to 10% is words. A woman's superior sensory equipment pick up analyzes this information, and her brain's ability to rapidly transfer between hemispheres makes her more proficient at integrating and deciphering verbal, visual, and other signals. This is why most men have difficulty lying to women face to face, but as most women know, lying to a man face to face is comparatively easy as he does not have the necessary sensitivity to spot incongruencies between her verbal and nonverbal signals, and most men, if they are going to lie to women, would be far better off doing it over the phone, in a letter, or with all the lights off and a blanket over their head. She hears better too. Women hear better than men and are excellent at distinguishing high-pitched sounds. A woman's brain is programmed to hear a baby cry in the night, whereas a mother may be oblivious to it and sleep on. If there is a kitten crying in the distance, a woman will hear it. A man, however, with his superior spatial and directional skill, can tell her where it is. Tripping taps drive women crazy while men sleep. At 1 week, baby girls can distinguish their mother's voice or the cry of another baby from the other sounds that are present in the same room. Baby boys cannot. Males use their left brain only for listening, but females use both brains for this task. The female brain has the ability to separate and categorize sounds and make decisions about each sound. This accounts for a woman's ability to listen to one person in a face-to-face conversation while monitoring another person's conversation. It also explains why a man has difficulty hearing a conversation while there is a television on in the background or dishes are being cluttered in the sink. If a phone rings, a man will demand people stop talking, music is turned down, and the TV is switched off for him to answer it. A woman simply answers the phone. Women read between the lines. Women have superior sensitivity in differentiating tone changes in voice volume and pitch. This enables them to hear emotional changes in children and adults. Consequently, for every man who can sing in the tune, there are 8 women who can do it. This ability goes a long way to explaining the women's phrase, "Do not use that tone of voice with me when arguing with men." And boys and most males do not have a clue what he is talking about. Tests conducted on babies reveal that baby girls respond almost twice as much to loud sound than boys, and this explains why girls are more easily soothed and comforted by high-pitched baby talk than boys, and why mothers intuitively sing lullabies to girls but to talk to or play with boys. Female hearing advantage contributes significantly to what is called women's intuition and is one of the reasons why a woman can read between the lines of what people say. Men, however, shouldn't despair. They are excellent at identifying and imitating animal sounds, which would have been a significant advantage for the ancient hunter. And sadly, that's not quite as much as used today. Men can hear direction. Women are better at differentiating sounds, but men can point to where they are coming from. Combined with the male ability to identify and imitate animal sounds, this skill makes him a highly efficient hunter of game. So how the sounds to get converted in the brain into a map? Professor Masakazu Konishi of the California Institute of Technology discovered some of the answer using barn owls, birds that are better than humans at the pinpointing where a sound is coming from. Play them a sound and they will turn their heads to face its source. Konishi discovered a group of cells in the auditory region of their brains that map the exact location of a sound. Speakers that play the same sound to each of the owl's ears at a different rate of speed, about 200 millionth of a second, allow the owl's brain to perform a 3D spatial map of the sun's location, and the owls then turn their heads toward the sun, allowing them to locate prey or avoid approaching enemies, and this appears to be the same ability that men use to pinpoint sun. Why boys do not listen? Boys are often chastised by their teachers and parents for not listening, but as boys grow, particularly approaching puberty, their canals undergo growth spurts that can cause a temporary form of deafness, and female teachers have been found to reprimand girls differently to boys and seem intuitively to understand male and female hearing differences. If a girl refuses to keep eye contact while the teacher berates her, a female teacher will continue the reprimand. If a boy refuses eye contact, many female teachers intuitively understand that he probably either cannot hear or is not listening and will say, "Look at me when I speak to you." Unfortunately, boys are equipped for effective seeing rather than hearing. For an easy demonstration of this, just count to the number of the F's in the following sentence. Finished files are the result of years of scientific research. Boys score better than girls at seeing that there are 5 F's. If the statement is read aloud, however, girls are better than boys at hearing the correct numbers of F's. Men miss the details. Lynn and Chris are driving home from a party. He is driving and he is navigating, and they have just had an argument about her telling him to turn left when she really mean right. 9 minutes of silence has passed, and he suspects something is up. "Darling, is everything okay?" asks Chris. "Yes, everything is fine," Lynn answers. Her emphasis of the word fine confirms that things are actually far from fine. He thinks back to the party. "And did I do something wrong tonight?" asks Chris. "I don't want to talk about it," she snaps. This means she is angry and does not want to talk about it. Meanwhile, he is at a complete loss to understand what is done to upset her. "Please tell me, what did I do?" he pleads. "I don't know what I did." In most conversation like this one, the man is telling the truth. He simply does not understand the problem. "Okay then," she says. "I will tell you the problem, even though you are playing that stupid act." But it's not an act. He genuinely does not have a handle on the problem. He takes a deep breath. "That bimbo was hanging around you all night, giving you common signals, and you didn't get rid of her. You encouraged her?" Now Chris is completely dumbstruck. "What a bimbo? What common signal?" He didn't see anything, you see. While the bimbo, this is a woman's expression. Men would describe a woman like that as a sexy. Had been talking to him. He had not noticed that she was tickling her pelvis at him, pointing her foot his way, flicking her hair, stroking her thighs, massaging her earlobes, giving him longer than usual glances, stroking the stem of her wine glass and talking like a scholar girl. He is a hunter. He can spot a zebra on the horizon and tell you how fast it's moving. He does not have a woman's ability to pick up the visual, vocal, and body language signal that say someone's on the make. Every woman at the party saw that what the bimbo was doing, even without moving their heads, and a telepathic pitch alert was sent and received by all the other women at the party, and most of the men missed it completely. So when a man claims he is telling the truth about these accusations, he probably is. Male brains are not equipped to hear or see details. The magic of touch. Touch can be life-giving. Early tests conducted on monkeys by Harlow and Zimmerman show that lack of touch in infant monkeys resulted in depression, illness, and premature death. Similar results have been found in neglected children. An impressive study on babies from 10 weeks of age to 6 months found that the offspring of mothers who were taught to stroke their babies had dramatically fewer colds and sniffles and less vomiting or diarrhea than those whose mothers did not stroke them. Other research found that women who were neurotic or depressed recovered much more quickly according to the number of times they were hugged and the duration of those hugs. Anthropologist James Prescott, who pioneered the study of the child rearing and violence, found that societies in which children were rarely touched affectionately had the highest rate of adult violence, and children broke up with affectionate careers usually end up growing into better, healthier, and happier adults, and sex offenders and child molesters both tended to have a past characterized by rejection, violence, and lack of cuddles as a children, and childhoods often spent in a remote institution. Many non-touching cultures love cats and dogs as they allow them to experience touch via stroking and patting their pets. Pet petting therapy has proved to be a valuable way of helping people overcome depression and other mental problems. Just look at how the English, the very antipathy of a touchy-feely race love their pets, as Germany Greer said, even crushed against his brother in the tube of the average Englishman pretend desperately that he is alone. Women are touchy-feely. The skin is the largest organ in the body, measuring about 2 square meters. Distributed unevenly across it are 2,800,000 maybe receptors for pain, and 200,000 for cold, and 500,000 for touch and pressure. From birth, girls are dramatically more sensitive to touch, and as an adult, a woman's skin is at least 10 times more sensitive to touch and pressure than a man's. In one authoritative study, it was found that the boys who tested most sensitive to touch felt even less than the least sensitive girls. Female skin is thinner than male skin and has an extra fat layer below it for more warmth in the winter and to provide greater endurance. Oxytocin is the hormone that stimulates the urge to be touched and fires up our touch receptors. It's no wonder that women commit receptors that are 10 times more sensitive than men's. That's so much important to cuddling their men, children, and friends. Our body language research showed that Western women are 4 to 6 times more likely to touch another woman in the social conversation than a man is likely to touch another man. Women use a greater range of touch expression than men, describing a successful person as having a magic touch and others as being thin-skinned or thick-skinned. Women love saying the touch and dislike those who get under your skin, and they talk about feelings, giving someone the personal touch, being touchy, and annoying people by rubbing them up the wrong way. In the 1999 research, the team led by Michael Meany at McGill University in Quebec, Canada, showed that baby rats that are constantly groomed and cared by their parents develop more brain mass and higher intelligence than baby rats who had less caring parents. A study with a psychiatric patient showed that under pressure, men avoid touch and retreat into their own world. More than half of the women in the same task. On the other hand, initiated approaches the men not for sex but for the intimacy of touch. When a woman is emotionally cut off or angry with a man, she is likely to respond by saying, "Don't touch me," a phrase that has little meaning to men. The lesson: to win a point with women, use lots of appropriate touching about avoid grabbing. To raise mentally healthy children, cuddle them a lot. A woman is 4 to 6 times more likely to touch another woman in a social conversation than a man would another man. Why? Men are so thick-skinned. Men have a thicker skin than women, which explains why women get more wrinkles than men. The skin on a man's back is 4 times thicker than his stomach skin, a legacy from his four-legged animal past, which gave more protection from a rear attack, and most of the boy's sensitivity to touch is lost by the time he reaches puberty and his body prepares itself for the rigors of the hunt. Males needed desensitized skin to run through prickly bushes, wrestle animals, and fight enemies without the pain slowing them down. When a man is focused on a physical task or supporting activity, is unlikely even to be aware of injury. Yeah, a boy does not really lose skin sensitivity at the puberty, it just all goes to one area. When a man is not focused on a task, his threshold of pain is much lower than a woman's. When a man moans, "Make me some chicken soup," or "fresh orange," "Make me some orange juice," or "Get me a hot water bottle," "Call the doctor and make sure my will is in order," it usually means he's got a slight head cold. Men are also less sensitive to women who is suffering pain or discomfort. If she is doubled up in pain, has a temperature of 104 degrees and is shivering under the blanket, he says, "Is everything okay, Charlie?" But he is thinking, if I ignore it, maybe she will have a sex. She isn't bad anyway. Men do feel sensitivity when watching football or aggressive sport. However, if men are watching a boxing match on TV and one of the boxers is fouled by a low blow of women will say, "Oh, that must have a heart," while the men will groan, double over and actually feel the pain. A taste for life. Women's sense of taste and smell are superior to men's. We have up to 10,000 taste receptors to detect at least 4 major tastes: sweet, salt on the tip of the tongue, sour on the sides, and the bitter at the back. Japanese researchers are currently testing a fifth taste, the taste of fat. Yeah, men score higher on discerning salt and bitter taste, which is why they drink beer, and women are far superior in discerning sweet and sugar taste, which is why there are far more female cocoholics in the world than male. As the nest defender and the fruit gatherer testing foods to check they were sweet and ripe enough to pass on to her brood, it was an advantage to have a highly refined sugar tasting palate. And this explains why women love sugary sweets and why most food testers are women. Something in the air. Not only is a woman's sense of smell better than average men's, it is even more sensitive around the ovulation stage of her monthly cycle. Her nose can detect the pheromones and musk-like odors associated with men, and these are scenes that cannot be detected consciously. Her brain is able to decode the state of a man's immune system, and if it's complementary to or stronger than her own immune system, she may describe a man as attractive or strangely magnetic. If her immune system is stronger than his, is likely to find him less attractive. Brain researchers have discovered that the woman's brain can analyze these immune system differences within 3 seconds of a meeting, and complementary immune system pass on an advantage to offspring by giving them a greater chance of survival. One outcome of all this research has been the number of oils and potions now being marketed for men that supposedly contain the secret of the survival pheromone attraction and driving women with a desire. The X-Files. Our evolutionary rules have equipped us with a biological skill and sense we need for survival, what is often called witchcraft. Supernatural power in women's intuition has been scientifically tested and measured since the 1980s, and for the most part comes down to women's superiority in all the perspective sense. Most witches were women who were put to death by men who could not understand the biological differences. Women are simply better at picking up the small nuances in the body language, vocal cues, tone of voice, and other sensory stimuli. They can also read attitudes and emotions in animals. This allowed ancient women to determine whether or not an animal approaching her nest was dangerous or friendly. A woman can even tell if a dog is feeling impressed or if a horse is about to kick. Most men cannot imagine what an impressed dog looks like. Women conceal cats when women are not looking. Men kick cats. For us, defending women being dexterous with both hands would have been an advantage to the process of the gathering, as it gives us the speed. Consequently, many women do not have the specific area in either brain for identifying left from right. It was never necessary. This is why there are disproportionately more ambidextrous women than men, and it also explains why women everywhere are unfairly criticized by men who frustrated at being given wrong direction by a woman. Yell, "Don't you even know your left from right?" The correct answer is no. A dominant right hand is vital to target hitting, but not critical to fast gathering. Because of their superior abilities in this area, modern women are still victimized by their attraction to astrologers, physics, tarot, card readers, numerologists, and others who offer an explanation for female intuition in exchange for hard-earned money. A woman's highly refined sensors contribute significantly to the early maturity of adolescent girl. By the age of 17, most girls can function as adults, while the boys are still giving each other wedgies at the swimming pool and lighting farts. Why men are called insensitive? It's not so much that women have a super sense, it's more that men's sense have been dulled. Comparatively speaking, in a woman's world of higher perceptiveness, she expects a man to read her verbal, vocal, and body language signal and to anticipate her needs, just as another woman would do. For the evolutionary reason discussed, this simply is not the case. A woman quietly assumes that a man will know what she wants or needs, and when he does not pick up on her cues, she accuses him of being insensitive. Wouldn't have a clue. Men everywhere believed, am I supposed to be a mind reader? Research proves that men are poor mind readers, but the good news is that most can be trained to improve their awareness of nonverbal and vocal messages. And the next chapter has a unique test that will show you the sexual orientation of your brain and why you are the way you are. Chapter 3. It's all in the mind. This light-hearted illustration of the male and female brain are funny only because they contain such an element of truth. But how much? Well, more than you might think. In this chapter, we will examine the recent dramatic revelation from research into the brain, and you will find in this chapter a real eye-opener, and at the end we have included a simple but remarkable test to show you just why your brain behaves the way it does. Why we are smarter than the rest. Look at the following drawings and you will notice two striking differences between gorillas, Netherlands men, and us modern humans. Firstly, our brain is more than 3 times the size of the gorillas and 1/3 bigger than our primitive ancestors. Fossil evidence shows that our brain has remained about the same size for the last 50,000 years, and there has been little change in our brain functions. Secondly, we have a protruding forehead, which our forefathers and primate cousins lack. The forehead contains 11 right frontal brain lobes, which give us many of our unique abilities such as thinking, map reading, and speech, and this is what makes us superior to all the other animals. Men and women's brain have evolved with a different range, talent, and abilities. Men, being responsible for hunting game, needed areas in the brain for long-distance navigation, to develop tactics for organizing the kill, and to hone skills for hitting a target. They didn't need to be good conversationalists or sensitive to anyone's emotional needs, so they never developed strong brain areas for interpersonal skills. Women, by contrast, needed an aptitude for good short-range navigation, wider peripheral vision to several activities, to monitor their surroundings. The ability to perform several activities simultaneously and effective communication skills. As a consequence of these needs, many women's brain develop specific areas to handle each skill. In today's terms, ancient society was very sexist, but we will tackle the issue later. How our brains defend territory. Old habits die hard, say the old folks. Genetic memory is alive and operating, say the scientists. Genetic memory is a part of our instinctive behavior. Naturally, you would expect tens of thousands of years sitting in the cave, facing outward to manage their surroundings, defend territory, and solve myriad problems of survival to leave quite a mark on men, as you select at them in the restaurant. Most men prefer to sit with their back to the wall, facing the restaurant entrance, and this makes them feel comfortable, secure, and alert. No one's going to sneak up on them unobserved, even if it is, these days, with nothing more lethal than a particularly hefty bill. Women, on the other hand, don't mind having their backs to an open space unless they are alone with the young children, when they will tend to take a seat next to the wall at home. Men will also act instinctively by taking the side of the bed closest to the bedroom door. The symbolic act of defending the cave entrance is a couple move to a new home or stays in a home where the door is on the women's side of the bed. A man can feel restless and may have difficulty sleeping without ever knowing why. Changing places so that he is once again closest to the door can often solve the problem. Men joke that they sleep by the door of their first marital home for a quick getaway. In truth, it's pure defender instinct. When a man is away from home, a woman will generally assume his protective role and sleep on his side of the bed. At night, a woman can be aroused from a deep sleep immediately by a high-pitched sound like a baby cries. A man, to the woman's great annoyance, will snore on soundly, but his brain is wired to hear a sound associated with a movement, and even the sound of a twig breaking outside the window can bring him wide awake in a split second to defend against a possible attack. And this time women will sleep on, except when the man is away and her brain becomes programmed to assume his role and hear every sound or movement. What's where in the brain? Here is a commonly held view of each side of the brain control which function, while research and our understanding of the human brain is increasing dramatically every day. There are varying interpretations of the research results, but there are several areas on which scientists and researchers do agree. Using magnetic resonance imaging (MRI), which measures electrical activity in the brain, it is now possible to identify and measure the exact location of many specific functions in the brain. With brain scanning equipment, we can see which part of the brain is handling a particular task. When a brain scan shows a specific location for a skill or function, it means that the person will usually be good at performing that skill, that they enjoy doing it and are attracted to occupation and pursuit that allow them to use it. Left hemisphere. Right side of body, mathematics, verbal, logical, fact, deduction, analysis, practical, order, words of song, lineal, and sees fine detail. And right hemisphere, left side of the body, creative, artistic, visual, intuition, I guess, imagination, holistic tune of a song, sees big picture, spatial, multiprocessing. For example, most men have a specific brain location for sensing direction, so they find that easy to do. They enjoy planning direction and are drawn to pursuits and pastimes that allow them to use abilities such as navigation and orientation. Women have specific career for speech. They are good at it, can do it with ease, and are attracted to fields that allow them to make use of this range, such as therapy, counseling, and teaching. Where there is no clear brain location for a certain skill, it usually means that a person is not naturally good at, or does not particularly enjoy, tasks that make use of that skill. This is why it's as hard to locate female navigators as it is to find solace in a male counselor or learn proper English from a male language teacher. Where brain research began. The first recorded scientific tests into differences between the sexes were held at the Museum of London by Francis Galton in 1882. He found that men had better sensitivity to bright sounds, shrill or high-pitched noises, had a stronger hand grip, and were less sensitive to pain than women. At the same time, in America, a similar study found that men preferred red to blue, had a larger vocabulary, and preferred solving technical problems to domestic ones. Women could hear more accurately, used more words than men, and preferred working on individual tasks and problems. Earlier research into the specific location of brain function came from brain damaged patients. It was found that men who suffered injury to the left side of the brain had lost much or all of their speech and vocabulary skills, whereas women who were similarly brain damaged did not suffer speech loss to the same extent, indicating that women have more than one center for speech. Men were 3 to 4 times more likely to suffer speech losses or speech impediments than women, and were much less likely to ever regain these skills. If a man is injured on the left side of the head, he stands a chance of becoming mute. If a woman is hit in the same place, he will probably keep right on talking. A man with brain damage on the right side lost most or all of their spatial skills, the ability to think in 3 dimensions and to rotate objects in the mind to picture how they look from different angles. For example, an architectural plan of a house is seen 2-dimensionally by a female brain, whereas a male brain can see it 3-dimensionally. That is, men can see depth, Most men can see how a building would look as a finished house. Women who are brain damaged in the exact same place on the right suffer little to not change to their spatial skill. Doreen Kimura, professor of psychology at the University of Western Ontario, found that speech disorder occurs when the left side of the brain is damaged, but only occurs in women when the frontal lobe of either hemisphere is damaged. Stuttering is a speech defect that is almost entirely restricted to males, and there are 3 to 4 times as many boys as girls in remedial reading classes. Put simply, males have a limited ability when it comes to speech and conversation. This result won't surprise most women. History books show that men's lack of talk and conversation has been making women tear their hair out for thousands of years. How the brain is analyzed? Since the early 1990s, brain scanning equipment has developed to the point where it is now possible to see your brain operating live on the television screen using positron emission tomography or PET scans and magnetic resonance imaging (MRI). Marcus Reichel of Washington University School of Medicine measured specific areas of increased metabolism in the brain to pinpoint the exact areas that are used for specific skills, and these are shown here. At Yale University in 1995, a team of scientists led by Drs. Bennett and Seiwitz conducted tests on men and women to establish which part of the brain is used to match rhyming words, using MRI to detect minor changes in blood flow to different parts of the brain. They confirmed that men used mainly the left brain for speech tests, while women used both left and right, and this experiment and countless others carried out since the 90s all clearly show the same result, and men and women's brain operate differently. Research also showed that the left side of the girl's brain developed more rapidly than that of a boy, which means she will speak sooner and better than her brother and read earlier and learn a foreign language more quickly. It also explains why speech pathologists are booked solely for treatment on little boys. Ask men and women if their brains work differently. Men will say they think they do. In fact, there was something they were reading on the internet the other day. Women will say, of course they do. Next questions. Okay, why women are better connected? Left and right brain hemispheres are connected by a bundle of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. This cable lets both sides of the brain communicate and exchange information. Try to imagine you have 2 computers on your shoulders with an interface cable between the two. That cable is the corpus callosum. Neurologist Roger Gorski of the University of California at Los Angeles confirmed that a woman's brain has a thicker corpus callosum than a man's, with the woman having up to 30% more connection between the left and the right. He also proved that men and women use different parts of the brain when working on the same task. This finding having since been duplicated by other scientists elsewhere, and research also reveals that the female hormone estrogen prompts nerve cells to grow more connection within the brain and between the 2 hemispheres. Studies show the more connection you have, the more fluent you speak. It also explains women's ability to multi-track and related activity, and throws a great deal of light on women's intuition. As we have discussed, a woman has a greater range of sensory equipment, and with that multiplicity of fibre connection for faster transfer of information between the hemispheres, it's no wonder that women can make so many fast, accurate judgments about people and situations on an intuitive level. Why men can only do one thing at a time? All the available research agrees the man's brain are specialized, compartmentalized. A male brain is configured to concentrate on one specific dedicated task at once, and most men will tell you they can only do one thing at a time. When a man stops his car to read a street directory, what's the first thing he does with his radio? He throws it down. Most women cannot understand why this happens. She can read while listening and talking, so why can't he? Why does he insist on turning down the TV when the telephone rings? When he's reading the newspaper or watching TV, why can't he hear it? What do I have to stall him? It's a lament that has been made by every woman in the world at the same time. The answer to that a man's brain is configured for one thing at a time because of fewer connecting fibers between the left and right hemispheres and a more compartmentalized brain. Take a brain scan of his head when he's reading and you will find he is virtually deaf. A woman's brain is configured for multitasking performance, and her brain is never disengaged, it's always active. She can talk on the telephone at the same time as cooking and even worship and watching television, or she can drive a car, put on makeup, and listen to the radio while talking on a hands-free telephone. But if a man is cooking a recipe and you talk to him, he's likely to become angry because he cannot follow the right instruction and listen at the same time. If a man is shaving and you talk to him, he will cut himself. Most women will have the experience of being accused by a man of making him miss a turn off on the highway because he was chatting to him at the time. One woman told us that if she is angry with her husband, she talks to him while he's hammering a nail. Because women use both sides of their brain, many find it more difficult to tell their left hand from their right. Around 50% of women cannot instantly recognize which is which without looking for a ring or a freckle. First, men on the other hand, operating in either a left or right brain and find it much easier to identify left from right. As a result, women all over the world, everywhere, are criticized by men for telling them to turn right when they really meant left. Try the toothbrush test. Most women can brush their teeth while walking and talking on several topics. They can make up and down strokes with the toothbrush at the same time as polishing a table using a circle movement with the other hand, and most men find this very difficult, if not impossible. When men brush their teeth, their monotrack brains means they focus entirely on the single task. They all stand square to the basin, fit 30 centimeters apart, with it bent over the sink, moving their head back and forth against the brush, usually to the speed of the water. Why we are who we are. At a time when we are raising boys and girls as if they are identical, science is proving they are dramatically different in their thinking. The conclusion that neurologists and brain researchers everywhere have now reached is that we are who we are because of hormones. We are who we are because of hormones. We are all the result of our chemistry. Late 20th century thinking says that we are born with an empty mind and our parents, teacher, environment dictate our attitudes and choices. New research into the brain and its development now reveals that our minds are configured like a computer at around 6 to 8 weeks after conception. And our basic operating system is in place and several programs are also installed so that when we are born we come pre-packaged like a computer with an array of add-on hardware and software. And science also shows that the basic operating system and its wiring leave little room for change. Our environment and our teachers can only add data and run compatible programs, and up until now there have been practically no how-to manuals available. This means that when we are born, our future choices and sexuality preferences are preset. Nature versus nurture. It's a done deal. Nature had the head start from the very beginning. We know now that nurturing is a learned behavior with adoptive mothers proving just as effective as nurturing children as a biological mothers. Programming the fetus. Yeah, almost all of us are made up of 46 chromosomes, which are like genetic building blocks, are a blueprint, 23 from our mother and 23 from our father. If our mother's 23rd chromosome is an X chromosomes, and if the father's 23rd is also an X, the result is called an XX baby, which is a girl. If the father's 23rd chromosome is a Y chromosomes, we will get an XY baby, which will be boy. The basic template for the human body and the brain is female. We all start out as a girl, and this is why men have female features such as nipples and mammary glands. At the 6 to 8 week point after conception, the fetus is more or less sexless and has the potential to develop either male or female genitalia. German scientist Dr. Gunther Dorner, a leading pioneer in social science, was one of the first to advance the theory that our sexual identity is formed 6 to 8 weeks after conception, and his research showed that if the fetus is a genetic boy XY, it develops special cells that direct a large amount of male hormones, particularly testosterone, through the body to form male taste and configure the brain for masculine trait and behavior, such as long-distance vision and the special skill for throwing, hunting, and chasing. Let's say that a male fetus XY needs at least 1 unit of male hormone to form male genitals and another 3 units to configure the brain with a male operating system, but for a reason we will discuss later, it does not receive the required dosage. Let's say it needs 4 units but receives only 3. The first unit is used to form the male genitals, but the brain receives only 2 more units, which means that the brain becomes sexed 2/3 male and remains 1/3 female, and the result is that the baby boy is born, who will grow up to become a person with a mainly male brain, but with some female thinking pattern and ability. If the male fetus only receives, say, 2 units of male hormone, 1 is used for testes formation and the brain gets only 1 instead of the required 3. And now we have a baby whose brain is still mainly female in structure and thinking, but it is in a genetically male body. But by the time puberty arrives, the boy is likely to be homosexual. We will discuss how this happens on chapter 8. When the fetus is a girl, XX, little or no male hormone is present, and so the body forms female genitalia and the brain stimulate remains female, and the brain is further configured with the female hormones and develops NAS defending attributes, including the centers for being able to decode verbal and non-verbal signals. When the baby girl is born, she looks female and her behavior will be feminine as a result of her female wire brain, but occasionally, usually by accident, the female fetus receives a significant dose of a male hormone and the result is a baby girl born with, to a greater or lesser extent, a masculine brain. We will also discuss how this happens in chapter 8. It is estimated that about 80 to 85% of males have mainly male wire brain, and about 50 to 20% have brains that are feminine to a greater or lesser extent. Many of these in the later group become gay. Any references to female gender in this book will refer to approximately 90% of girls and women whose brains are wired for mainly female behavior. Around 10% of women have a brain that is wired to a greater or lesser extent with some masculine ability because it received a dose of male hormone 6 to 8 weeks after conception. And here is a simple but fascinating test that can show you the extent to which your brain is wired for masculine or feminine thinking. The questions have been collected from many leading studies into human brain sexuality, and the rating system used was developed by British genetics Ian Moyer. There are no right or wrong answers in this test, but it gives you some interesting insight into who, why you make the choices you make and think the way you do. At the end of the test, you can score your result on the chart, photocopy the test, and give it to you live and work with, and the result will be real eye-opener for everyone. The brain wiring test. The test is designed to indicate the masculinity or femininity of your brain patterns. There are no right or wrong answers, and the result is simply an indication of the probable level of male hormone your brain did or did not receive around 6 to 8 weeks after your conception, and this is reflected in your preference of values, behavior, styles, orientation, and choices. Circle, or maybe you can choose the statement that is most likely to be true for you most of the time. Number 1. When it comes to reading a map or street directory, you A. have a difficulty and often ask for help. B. turning around to face the direction you are going. C. have no difficulty reading maps or street directories. Number 2. You are cooking a complicated meal with the radio playing in your friend's phones. Do you A. leave the radio on and continue cooking while talking on the phone, or B. turn the radio off, talk and keep cooking? C. say you will call them back as soon as you have finished cooking. Number 3. Friends are coming to visit and ask for direction to your new house. Do you A. draw a map with a clear direction and send it to them, or get someone else to explain how to get there? B. Ask what landmarks they know, then try to explain to them how to get there. C. Explain verbally how to get there. Take the M3 to Newcastle, turn after left to go to the second traffic lights. Number 4. When explaining an idea or concept, are you more likely to A. Use a pencil, paper, and body language gestures. B. Explain it verbally using body language and gestures. C. Explain it verbally, being clear and concise. 5. When coming home from a great movie, you prefer to A. Picture scenes from the movie in your mind. B. Talk about the scenes and what was said. C. Quote mainly what was said in the movie. 6. In the cinema, you usually prefer to sit A. on the right side, B. anywhere, C. on the left side. 7. A friend has something mechanical that won't work and you would A. sympathize and discuss how they feel about, B. recommend someone reliable who can fix it, or C. figure out how it works and attempt to fix it for them. 8. You are in an unfamiliar place and someone asks you where north is and you A. confess you don't know, B. guess where it is after a bit of doubt, and C. point toward north without difficulty. 9. You have found a parking space but it's tight and you must reverse into it. You would A. rather try to find another space, B. careful attempt to back to it, and C. reverse into it. 9. You have found a parking space but it's tight and you must reverse into it. You would A. rather try to find another space, B. carefully attempt to back into it, C. reverse into it without any difficulty. 10. You are watching a TV when the telephone rings and you would A. answer the phone with the TV on, B. turn the TV down and then answer, C. turn the TV off, tell others to be quiet and then answers. 11. You have just heard a new song by your favorite artist and usually you A. can sing some of the song afterwards without difficulty, B. can sing some of it afterwards if it's a really simple song, C. you find it hard to remember how the song sounded but you might recall some of the words. 12. You are best at predicting outcomes by A. using intuition, B. making a decision based on both the available information and the gut feeling, C. using facts, statistics, and data. 13. You have misplaced your keys. Would you A. do something else until the answer comes to you, B. do something else but keep trying to remember where you put them, C. mentally retrace your steps until you remember where you left them? 14. You are in a hotel room and you hear the distant sound of a siren. You A. couldn't identify where it's coming from, B. could probably point to it if you concentrate, C. could point straight to where it's coming from. 15. You go to a social meeting and are introduced to 7 or 8 new people. Next day, you A. can easily picture their faces, B. would remember a few of their faces, C. would be more likely to remember their names. 16. You want to go to the country for your holiday, but your partner wants to go to the beach resort, and to convince them your idea is better, you A. tell them sweetly how you felt. You love the countryside and the kids and family always have fun there. B. Tell them if they go to the country, you will be grateful and will be happy to go to the beach next time. C. Use the fact. The country resort is closer, cheaper, and well organized for supporting and leisure time. 17. When planning your day's activity, you usually A. write a list so you can see what needs to be done, B. think of the things you need to do, C. picture in your mind the people you will see, places you will visit, and things you will be doing. 18. A friend has a personal problem and has come to discuss it with you. You A. are sympathetic and understanding, B. say that problem are never as bad as they seem and explain why, C. give suggestion or rational advice on how to solve the problem. 19. Two friends from different marriages are having a secret affair. How likely are you to spot it? A. You could spot it very clearly. B. You would pick up on it half the time. C. You would probably miss it. 20. What is life all about? As you see it, A. having friends and living in harmony with those around you. B. being friendly to others while maintaining personal independence. C. achieving worthwhile goals, earning other respect, and winning prestige and advancement. 21. Given the choice, you would prefer to work A. in a team where people are compatible, B. Around others' space but maintaining your own space, or C. By yourself. 22. The books you prefer to read are A. Novels and fiction. B. Magazines and newspaper. C. Nonfiction and autobiographies. 23. When you go shopping, you tend to A. Often buy on impulse, particularly the specials. B. Have a general plan but take it as it comes. C. Read the labels and compare costs. 24. You prefer to go to bed, wake up, and eat meals. A. Whenever you feel like it. B. On a basic schedule but you're flexible. C. At about the same time each day. 25. You have started a new job and met lots of new people on the staff. One of them phones you when you are at home. You would A. Find it easy to recognize their voice. B. Recognize it about half the time. C. Have difficulty identifying the voice. 26. What upsets you most when arguing with someone? A. Their silence or lack of response. B. When they won't see your point of view. C. Their probing or challenging questions and comments. 27. In school, how did you feel about spelling tests and writing essays? A. You found them both fairly easy. B. You were generally okay with one but not the other. Or C. You were not good at either. 28. When it comes to dancing or jazz routine, you A. Can feel the music once you have learned the steps. B. Can do some exercises or dances but get lost with others. C. Have difficulty keeping time on the rhythm. 29. How good are you at identifying and mimicking animal sounds? A. Not very good. B. Reasonable. C. Very good. 30. The last, at the end of the long day, you usually prefer to A. Talk to friends or family about your day. B. Listen to others talk about their day. Or C. Read the paper, watch TV, and not talk. How to score the test? First, add the number of ABC responses and use the following table to arrive at your final result. For males, numbers A times 10 points, numbers B times 5 points, and number C is minus 5 points. You can sum all the point. And for females, A times 15 points, number B times 5 points, and number C is times 5 points. For any question where the answer didn't accurately reflect your life or you left them blank, award yourself 5 points. Analyzing the result, most males will score between 0 until 180, and most females are 150 until 300. Brains that are wired for mainly masculine thinking usually score below 150, and the closer to the 0 they are, the more masculine they are, and the higher their testosterone level is likely to be. And these people demonstrate strong logical, analytical, and verbal skill and tend to be disciplined and well organized. And the closer to 0 they score, the better they are at projecting cause and planning outcome for statistical data, with their emotions hardly influencing them at all. Scores in the minis range are high masculine scores, and the scores show that large amount of testosterone was present in the early stages of the fetal development. The lower the score of a woman, the more likely she will be to have a lesbian tendencies. Brains that are wired for mainly feminine thinking will score higher than 180. The higher the number, the more feminine the brain will be, and the more likely the person is to demonstrate a significant creative, artistic, and musical talent. They will make the more of the decisional and the intuition or gut feeling, and are good at recognizing problems using minimal data. And they are also good at solving problems using creativity and insights. The higher the score is about 180 for a man, and the greater the change he will be gay. Males who score below 0 and women who score above 300 have a brains that are wired so oppositely that the only thing they are likely to have in common is that they live on the same planet. And scores between 150 until 180 show compatibility of the thought for both sexes or a footing about sexual camps. These people do not show a big bias for either male or female thinking and usually demonstrate a flexibility in thinking that can be a significant advantage to any group who are going through a problem-solving process. They have a predisposition to make friends with both men and women. Chapter 4. Talking and Listening. What females say. Now, Bill, after you have taken Ronald for his walk at 6, I would like you to fix the broken light in the lounge room and then fix Rover's kennels also. What males here? Blah 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 blah, sex blah 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 blah, Rover blah blah blah. Yeah, that's the illustration of about talking and listening between women and men. Barbara and Alan were getting ready to go to the cocktail party. Barbara had bought a new dress and was anxious to look her best. She held up 2 pairs of shoes, one blue, one gold. Then she asked Alan the question that all men fear. Darling, which should I wear with this dress? A cold chill ran down Alan's back. He knew he was in trouble. Whichever you like, sweetheart, he stammered. Come on, Alan, she said impatiently. Which looks better, blue or gold? Gold? He replied nervously. So what's wrong with the blue? She asked. You never liked them. I paid a fortune for them and you hate them, don't you? Alan's shoulders slumped. If you don't want my opinion, Barbara, don't ask, he said. He thought he would be nice to fix the problem, but when he solved it, she was not at all grateful. Barbara, however, was using a typical female speech trait, indirect speech. She would already decided which shoes she was going to wear and didn't want another opinion on it, and she wanted confirmation that she looked good. And in this chapter, we will look at the problem men and women have communicating with each other and offer some novel solutions. The blue or gold shoes strategy. If a woman asks blue or gold when selecting shoes, it's important that a man does not give an answer. Instead, he should ask, have you chosen a pair, darling? Most women are taken aback by this approach because most men they know immediately state a preference. Well, I thought I could possibly wear that gold. She will say, uncertainly, the reality is, she has already chosen the gold shoes, and why the gold, he will ask. Because I'm wearing gold accessories and my dress has a gold pattern in it, she will respond. A skilled man would then reply, wow, great choice. You will look fabulous, you have done well, I love it, and you can bet he will have a great night. And why males cannot talk proper. We have known for thousands of years that men are not great conversationalists, particularly when compared to women. Not only do girls start speaking earlier than boys, but a 3-year-old girl has nearly twice the vocabulary of the 3-year-old boy. With her speech almost 100% comprehensible, and speech pathologists are kept busy with parents bringing young boys in for therapy with the same complaint. He cannot speak properly. If the boy has an older sister, this speech difference is even more noticeable, particularly as older sister and mothers frequently talk for their sons as a 5-year-old boy. How are you? And this mother of the sister answers, he is fine, thanks. Mothers, daughters, and older sister often speak on behalf of males in their family. Women's speech and language are not critical brain skill. They operate mainly in the left brain and have no specific locations. Studies with left brain damage people show that most speech disorders in males occur in the left or rear hemisphere and mainly in the left front for females. When a male talks, MRI scans show that his entire left hemisphere becomes active as it researches to find a century of speaking, but is unable to find much. Consequently, men are not much good at talking. The following MRI brain scan is from research conducted by Dr. Tanmoy Sharma, head of cognitive psychopharmacology at the Institute of Psychiatry, London in 1999. As you can see, males have few hot spots. This for speech function, and the stammer-shaped white boys tend to mumble and have sloppier pronunciation than girls. They use fillers like during conversation are more likely to drop the G from the end of the word, saying comment, going, and using only 3 tones of voice when speaking, compared to women's 5 tones. When men get together to watch a football match on TV, that's exactly what they do. The only conversation tends to be pass the chip and go and if more beer. For a group of women, meeting up to watch a TV program has always been more of an excuse for a chat, and as a result, they will tend to get together to watch something like a TV show and where the characters and the plots are familiar, rather than a complicated murder mystery drama. The different ways our sexes express themselves is perhaps nowhere more obvious than in sport. Watch any TV sporting them, even any observe how female basketball players, for instance, can describe their match exactly succinctly and perfectly comprehensible when male players are interviewed. However, not only is it difficult to make sense of the little half they have to say, but their mouths do not appear to move. With teenagers, the difference is remarkable too. When we asked our teenage daughter about the party she attended the night before, she gave an articulate recitation of everything that happened, who said what to whom, how everyone felt about it, and what they were wearing. Our teenage son asked the same question, mumbled, yeah, good. And on Valentine's Day, florists tell men to say it with flowers because they know that men find it difficult to say it with words. Buying a card is never a problem for a man. It's what to write inside that stumps him. Men often choose greeting card with plenty of words inside. That way, there is less space for them to write. And men of fulfilling gestures, remember, not communicators. The hand was conducted with a series of the verbal, signal, and often the hunters would sit for hours silently watching for their prey. They didn't talk or bond. When the mother and man go fishing together, they can sit for hours and say nothing. They are having a great time enjoying each other's company, but they don't feel the need to express it in words. And yet, if women were spending time together and not talking, it would be indicative of a major problem. And the only time men come close is when the division of communication in the tightly compartmentalized male brain is broken down by copious quantities of alcohol. Boys and their schooling. In the beginning, boys do not tell well at school because their verbal abilities are inferior to those of girls. As a result, they perform poorly in languages, English, and the arts. They feel stupid in front of the more articulate girls and become boisterous and disruptive, and the idea of starting boys at school a year later, when their language development will be on a par with the girls a year younger, within that respect, seems to make a lot of sense. It would leave boys feeling a great deal better about themselves and much less intimidated by the fluency of the girls the same age. In the later years, girls were behind in physics and science where special ability is vital, but while remedial language classes are full of boys whose worried parents hope and pray that their sons will eventually be able to read, write, and speak properly. Not such a caveat is put on their girls to brush up on their special reasoning. They simply end up changing subjects. There has been a growing trend in recent years to separate boy and girl in a certain subject like English, maths, and sciences. Yeah, Seinfeld High School in Access, for example, allows each sex to learn in an environment where there is no competition from the opposite sex. In math tests, the girls are asked questions that relate to a garden setting, whereas the boys' tests are set in the hardware store and the type of segregation capitalists and the natural preferences of male and female brain wiring, and the results are impressive. In English, the boys' results are 4 times higher than the national average. And the girls' math and science score are almost double those on the other schools. And why women are great talkers? With women, speech is a specific area located primarily in the front of the hemisphere, with another smaller specific area in the right hemisphere. Having speech on both sides of the brain makes women good conversationalists, and they enjoy it and do lots of it. With specific areas to control speech, the rest of a woman's brain is available for other tasks, enabling her to do lots of different things at once while talking. Compare the above illustration, which shows the location of speech and language in a woman, to that of a man, and you can see why women are such excellent communicators and men are not. Recent research has found that baby learn to recognize its mother's voice while it is still in the womb, probably from voice resonance through the mother's body. A 4-day-old baby can distinguish the speech pattern of its native tongue from the foreign language. At 4 months, babies can recognize lip movement associated with vowel sounds, and before their first birthday, they are beginning to associate words with meanings. By 18 months, they have the beginnings of a vocabulary that a 2-year-old will have expanded in the case of the cars to up to 2,000 words, both intellectually and physically. This is an awesome achievement compared to the learning ability of an adult. Having a specific brain zone for speech allows girls to learn foreign language faster and easier than boys, and it also explains why girls are better at grammar, punctuation, and spelling. Yeah, because the left brain controls the physical function of the right side of the body, which could be why most people write with the right hand. This would also explain why the handwriting of most women is much more legible than that of men. Women's specific language centers are rewired for better use of the language, both spoken and written. And why women need to talk? Because male brains are highly compartmentalized and have the ability to separate and store information. At the end of the day, full of problems, means monotracking brain can file them all away, and female brain does not store information in this way. The problems just keep going around and around in her head, and the only way a woman gets rid of her problems from her mind is by talking about them, to acknowledge them. Therefore, when a woman talks at the end of the day, her objective is to discharge their problems, not to find conclusions or solutions.